Welcome to Royal Daily Report, your source for the latest royal news and updates. Don't forget to subscribe to stay informed. There are moments in a person's life when everything they believe, every story, every promise, every piece of trust, suddenly feels like it's built on sand. And according to people close to the situation, Prince Harry has just lived through one of those moments. Word from the inside claims he recently came face to face with something he was never meant to see. Images and details that tie Meghan not just to a yacht from her past, but to Prince Andrew himself. The revelation didn't come gently. It didn't arrive with explanations. It hit him like a sudden drop, the kind that makes your heart grab your throat. Those who witness his reaction say Harry went still. Absolutely frozen, because the one thing he believed with his whole heart was that Meghan came into his world clean, untouched by royal circles, untouched by scandals, untouched by the shadows that follow certain members of his family. But what he saw suggested something very different, and it was only the beginning. Once the images were shown, more details followed. And this is where the ground under Harry's feet truly gave way. People close to Andrew, individuals who have known him for years, insist Andrew remembers Meghan clearly, not as a stranger, not as a random guest, but as someone he interacted with, someone who had access, someone who moved in social circles far closer to royalty than Harry ever realized. According to these sources, Meghan's confidence in royal spaces suddenly made sense to them. They say she didn't act like an outsider walking into the monarchy for the first time. She carried herself like someone who'd been there before, someone who already knew the rhythm, the tone, the power dynamics. And if that's true, then the official story that Meghan was just a hardworking actress who stumbled into Harry's life by fate begins to look less like truth and more like a beautifully crafted version of events. Those close to Harry say this realization hit him like a second wave. Because if Meghan knew Andrew before him, then the beginning of their romance, the origin story he treasured so dearly, might not have been as pure as he thought. When the yacht photos first circulated quietly behind palace walls, there was no panic, no shouting, no emergency meetings. Instead, there was something far more telling: silence. People close to the royal machinery say the images were reviewed by individuals who understood exactly what they were looking at. Faces were recognized, names were connected, timelines were traced, and then without hesitation, the entire matter was sealed away. It wasn't done to protect Meghan out of affection. It wasn't done to spare Harry's feelings. It was done because the palace understood the threat behind those photos. If the public ever learned that Meghan stood anywhere near Andrew's orbit before she married Harry, the institution would be dragged into a firestorm. It might not survive, because such a revelation raises terrifying questions. Did the palace know? Did they allow the marriage anyway? Did they hide information to protect their own image? What else did they choose not to investigate? Word from inside Buckingham Palace says the implications were so dangerous, so explosive, that burying the evidence wasn't a choice. It was a survival move. And for the first time, Harry now understands that the silence wasn't an accident. It was a shield, not for Meghan, but for the monarchy itself. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Daily Report for more royal updates. But the yacht photos weren't the only thing raising eyebrows behind closed doors. According to people familiar with the legal proceedings surrounding Epstein's world, there was another moment, a moment quietly discussed among legal insiders that left many stunned. The claim is simple, but explosive. Meghan Markle's name was supposedly floated as a potential witness, not because she married Prince Harry, not because she became a duchess, not because she was famous, but because, according to those same insiders, Meghan may have been present in environments connected to Andrew during the years when certain allegations were later made. And here's the part that no one outside of private legal circles ever heard. You cannot call a stranger to testify. A witness must be relevant. A witness must be present. A witness must know something. So, the very fact that Meghan's name was mentioned at all implies a level of proximity that no public narrative has ever acknowledged. Those close to the situation say this moment terrified people inside the palace, because if Meghan were ever publicly listed as a potential witness, even briefly, Harry would be dragged into the scandal by marriage, and the palace would be forced to address questions they had successfully avoided for years. And then almost instantly, The conversation stopped. The lists quieted. The topic vanished. Andrew's scandal swallowed careers, reputations, and decades-old alliances. And yet somehow, it skipped right over Meghan, leaving not a single trace behind. But the people who were there remember, and now so does Harry. To understand how Meghan reached any of these worlds, the yacht, the circles, the proximity, you have to go back not to Harry, not to their relationship, but to Toronto years earlier when she first arrived to film Suits. People who watched her rise say something unusual happened the moment she stepped into that city, where most actors climbed slowly through the social ladder. Meghan's ascent was rapid, almost unnaturally so. And at the center of that rise was one man, Marcus Anderson. Word from the inside describes Marcus as a fixer, a connector, a gatekeeper to high society, a man who opened doors that ordinary people never even see. Through him, Meghan was introduced to Jessica Mulroney, powerful business families, wealthy socialites, members-only clubs like Soho House, London elites, and aristocratic networks. People who observe this period say Meghan wasn't wandering into these circles by accident. She was placed, positioned, elevated, and it's through these same networks, the private clubs, the parties, the wealthy families that Meghan supposedly became familiar with individuals who hovered around Andrew's world long before Harry himself ever appeared. Those who watched Meghan move through Toronto say she learned quickly. She learned how to carry herself like someone with status, how to mimic confidence, how to walk into a room like she belonged to the most powerful people in it. And according to sources close to those elite networks, this was the moment Meghan began believing she could go higher, not just into influence, not just into wealth, but into royalty itself. Toronto wasn't her beginning. Toronto was her launch pad, and the trajectory she began there is what eventually led her straight into Harry's life, but not before crossing paths with the world Andrew once ruled. When people talk about Meghan entering the royal family, they often describe it as a fairy tale coincidence, two strangers meeting unexpectedly and falling in love. But those close to the story say the truth is far less magical and far more intentional. Because long before Harry even knew Meghan existed, Princess Eugenie did. Meghan herself has admitted this publicly, but the implications were never explored. Sources familiar with Eugenie's circle say Meghan wasn't just a passing acquaintance. She was someone who already had a foot inside the quieter, more private side of royal life. People who were there recall moments where Meghan and Eugenie were seen in the same social spaces, quietly blending into gatherings that outsiders never knew existed. Not public rooms, not charity galas, private environments, places where only those already trusted could move freely. And if Eugenie knew Meghan before Harry, then the setup of their introduction looks very different. Not fate, not luck, but access. According to insiders, Eugenie unintentionally became the bridge between Meghan and the royal world. A bridge that allowed Meghan to pass from Toronto's elite nightlife into the protected corridors of royal bloodlines. This wasn't a leap. It was a step, a continuation of a journey she had already begun. If Eugenie opened the door, Sarah Ferguson, Fergie tried to close it. Sources close to Fergie say she recognized something the moment she crossed paths with Meghan. Not danger, not scandal. Ambition. Fergie knew that kind of ambition well. She had lived inside the royal machine herself, and she understood what happens when someone who wants more walks into a structure built on hierarchy and control. Word from people familiar with her thinking claim Fergie quietly monitored Meghan early on. Not because of acting fame, not because of nationality, but because she suspected Meghan's presence around Andrew might not have been accidental. And here is where the story sharpens. Those same sources claim that Meghan may have first directed her attention toward Andrew, not romantically, but strategically. Someone older, deeply connected, and powerful in his own right before the Epstein scandal shattered his world. But Fergie was territorial. She knew titles. She knew risk. She knew exactly what another ambitious woman could mean for her position and for her family. According to insiders, Fergie positioned herself between Meghan and Andrew, limiting interactions, restricting proximity, and making it clear that Meghan would not be allowed to get too close to the Duke's inner circle. And that blockage, That quiet closing of one door may have shifted Meghan's path. Because if Andrew was unreachable, there was someone else who wasn't. Someone younger, someone more vulnerable, someone hungry for a genuine connection. Harry. As the years unfolded, the public was fed a clean, polished version of events. A modern love story, a Hollywood star meeting a lonely prince, a whirlwind romance, a fairy tale wedding. But behind that carefully crafted picture stand three people who supposedly know the parts that were never included. 1. Prince Andrew pushed out of public life, silenced by scandal, holding memories and interactions that contradict the official narrative. 2. Sarah Ferguson, someone who supposedly saw Meghan's ambition early and acted to keep her from getting too close. 3. Princess Eugenie, the friend who unknowingly connected Meghan to the royal heart before Harry even understood what was happening. Insiders say these three figures are not fringe players. They are not outsiders whispering from the shadows. They were physically present in rooms where Meghan stood years before Harry ever arrived. They hold the missing pieces, the dates, the faces, the locations that would shift the entire story if they ever came to light. And here's the part causing the greatest concern inside the palace. None of them have anything left to lose. That makes them dangerous because people with nothing left to lose often become people willing to speak. Every royal scandal in history follows a pattern. First the whisper, then the denial, then the silence, then the drip, and finally the flood. And according to those familiar with the situation, Meghan's supposed yacht connection and her early proximity to Andrew have now left the silent stage far behind. We're in the drip, the stage where little pieces begin slipping through, the stage where the palace tightens its grip because it knows it cannot stop the pressure forever. Sources claim there are photographs that were never meant to resurface, names that were never meant to be spoken again, moments that were never meant to be revealed, and the people who hold those memories, Andrew, Fergie, Eugenie, are older now, disconnected from the core of the monarchy, growing more resentful by the year. Meanwhile, Harry, according to those close to him, is wrestling with a truth he avoided for too long, that he may have sacrificed his identity, his home, and his family, not for love, but for a story that was never fully honest with him. He once thought he was saving Meghan from the royal world. Now insiders say he realizes the royal world may have been trying to save him from hers, and that revelation is the crack in the wall, the quiet fracture running through a story the palace has fought desperately to hold together. Because scandals do not vanish, they do not die, they wait. And this one, with its photos, witnesses, early connections, and buried histories, is waiting for the moment when silence becomes impossible. When that day comes, it will not only reshape Meghan's narrative, it will not only expose Andrew's bitterness, it will not only deepen Harry's heartbreak, it might force the monarchy to confront a truth it has avoided for years. The truth that sometimes the most dangerous secrets are the ones hidden in plain sight. That's all for today's Royal Daily Report. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more exclusive royal news and stories. Stay informed, stay connected.